So we're going to work on blending our colored pencils. We want to make sure that we're creating a rounded illusion with our colored pencils. So I'm just going to put my paper over top of my project because I seem to be smudging some of it. And I'm going to get four different colors. So I'm going to start off with my yellow in the center. As you see in my sample rounded part of my tube here, I'm going to start off with yellow. Then I'm going to move in with my orange, and I'm going to work in with my red. At the very end, I'm going to push in a little bit of blue to really make it look like it's darker around the edges to make it look like it's rounded. So I'm trying to create this three-dimensional space on this two-dimensional surface. In order to do that, I'm going to start with my yellow, and I want to create this kind of center highlight. We're going to call it a bright space or a highlight that goes about down the middle. So if my edges of my tube here are curved, I'm going to make the center highlight look like it's on an angle or curved as well. So it's going to kind of mirror the outside edges. I'm going to work on this one that's a little lower, just so my hand isn't in the way. So I'm going to start off with my yellow. I'm not pressing really hard. I'm just trying to get a layer of yellow. I'm going in some oval movements here that are curved as well. So it's kind of a curved oval. And I want my yellow to be right down the center. But in order to make it blend from yellow to a yellow orange to an orange, I want to go a little bit further into my orange area without pressing hard. I just want to kind of get some yellow in that transition space. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that I have yellow down the center where I really want it to be, and then I'm going to carry that yellow outside on both the left and the right where the orange is going to overlap it. So with colored pencils, it's much better to layer colored pencils rather than to press really hard. When you press really hard, you're burnishing the fibers of the paper, and it won't allow you to blend those colors together. We can press hard, but it'll be once we get all of our color on. So I have my yellow where I want it to be, which would probably be right in here. And then I've carried it out to the right and out to the left so that I can overlap my orange. So I'll start with my orange here, and I'm not going to press really hard. I am just putting on a nice thin layer where I'd like my orange to start. I'm again moving in like ovals that are kind of in a curved motion so that I can get it to blend right here where my yellow transitions into my orange. So I'm not pressing really hard. I don't want to compress those fibers of the paper, and I don't want to deposit a lot of wax on it just yet. Now, I want my orange to be, right in here. I'm going to transition into red. In order to transition from my orange to my red, I need to carry my orange out further than I want the orange to show. So I transition from yellow to a yellow orange, then into my orange, where I am putting many more layers of wax right here. And then again, I'm not pressing very hard, but I'm going to go over where I want to transition into the red. And I'm going to do the same on the right-hand side. So I'm going to put this light layer of orange over top of my yellow. I'm not pressing really hard. I'm just trying to get the two wax layers to work together. And then I will work where I want my straight up orange to be. And I'll deposit a little more wax and pigment here by going layer upon layer upon layer, not pressing really hard. Then I'm going to work this orange into where I'd like my red to be. Again, look at how it gets lighter past where I'd like the orange to be intense orange. I'm just trying to get a layer or two of the orange so that it can transition into red. And then I'm going to go right up here around my edges and start working my red into my orange area so that I've layered the red over top of the orange so that it's like a seamless transition from my orange to my red. And they seem to blend pretty well. I might go over with more layering of red. And yes, it is slowly going to burnish or push in or compress those fibers of the paper to make it a little more on the shiny side. On the left-hand side, I'm going to do the same thing. You might want to rotate your paper so that you can still make those ovals, but make them in the curved way that the tubes are curving, right? So I'm going over part of my orange with layer and layer and layers of red. Then when I get closer to the edge of my tube, I am going to put in just a few more layers of red to make that red pop out. Okay. I feel like I could add a little more red to the one above it. So you can see that just adding this little pop of blue on the outside edges, kind of coming in that curve that the ring of the tube is, it just makes it look a little bit more as though the edges curve downward. So it really creates that rounded illusion. So I'm going to start in my corner here, just put a little bit of blue on the edge, and I'm not pressing really hard. I don't want my blue to take over, but I do want my blue to be on that edge. And I am again using that oval movement of my pencil, curving it in towards the arc or arch of my tube ring here. So if you take a closer look, it does look as though it's going rounded a little bit more, almost as though we have a lot of depth on the corners or the edges of it. Now I can create this entire tube just using these really nice warm colors, starting with yellow down my center and moving into my yellow orange, and then my orange red, and then my red, and then adding the blue to create the depth. I could start transitioning into maybe carrying my blue in a little further and making my yellow even thinner. But I think I like how this is working, so I might make this entire tube all these warm colors. I might make the next tube more of the cool colors, which would end up being maybe blue, purple, and green. I'd have to think maybe I would put green in the center and I would work it to purple and maybe to blue on the edge. But that's something I can choose after. If you look at the example in the slide deck, you will see that each tube in that, like each ring does transition. You don't have to do that. You can keep and really show me that you know how to put the highlights in and that you need to make this a rounded illusion, okay? I'm really more concerned with you showing me that you can make the rounded illusion.